So another video that I'm making here is about an idea that I had while I was in Long Island City near the Pepsi Cola sign, the famous Pepsi sign, and the two large bridge train depot stations that used to exist there where they would bring in the old trains and ferry them across the water. So I could see the east side of Manhattan, the Midtown Queens Bridge, and ultimately the FDR Reef. There's a famous reef right there for protection. And the idea that I had was for air taxis. I got lucky enough to see one of the air taxis on display, one of the prototypes in Grand Central. And I realized while I was standing there that the new building for the FAA, could be for air taxis, the medical, the lesson schooling rooms, the backup towers for Newark, LaGuardia, and ultimately there's about three major international airports in the local area that could use this new FAA building as a backup for the towers that they have, the control towers. The building would be to the south of the Midtown Queens Bridge, and it would be off of the reef. So if you could look at the bridge and you can see from where I was standing near Frank Ottaminelli's, you can see that there's a crash guard just to the south of the Midtown Queens Bridge on the island for the safety of the bridge. It's to stop ships from coming upon the land and taking down the bridge. And so I had this idea for the new air taxi building that I posted about that is basically a new triangle of land, a new island made just to the south of the Midtown Queens Bridge and off of the reef, so the reef would remain protected. And it's right near one of the New York ferry ports. Now, this is important because that's how people could get to work every day. There could be a bridge added, like a walking bridge that goes over, or even a driving bridge with a small parking area for employees on the island. However, just to the south of the Midtown Queens Bridge, in the water, right where there's a warning island, there's a little tiny rock structure in the water with a warning pole on it with a light. And that's for at night, so ships don't crash into the little island or the Midtown Queens Bridge Island. And so the FAA building, in my mind, would look great as a concrete structure with large open floor plans, and it would have a triangular shape to the building. Basically a sweeping portion of the building that comes up on an angle from the south side of the building, approaching the north side, and comes up to a point on top. And it's got this geometric triangular shape to the entire structure. Basically like a Swiss mountain / Arizona mountain in design with unique windows. Like I said, majorly large open floor plans, and a whole new crash diversion area in the water on this new island for the FAA air taxi building, where one, they could land air taxis so people could take them to work. Two, there would be a few Coast Guard garages. So that means Coast Guard boats that could be parked there permanently and also be accessible for the Coast Guard and emergent uses, as well as the FDNY, NYPD boats. To dock there and also to respond to air taxi issues that may occur in the water. One major opening for air taxis is that they're going to have to fly over Manhattan and they're going to have to fly around the water. And that means ultimately there's bridges that they're flying over and many commuters every day. And this provides one area for all of those utilities and the structures to be built. Now, just to build it there, I believe, is the right position. It would have a great viewpoint, especially at night, with unique solar panels that are in earth tone hexagons up the side of this building, and it catches the eastwardly sunrise every morning. Near Frank Ottaminelli's, there's the boardwalk right there, and there's a great area that catches morning sunlight. I've been there pretty early in the morning, and there's ample sunlight because Long Island City buildings aren't as dense as Manhattan buildings. So this new building would be a great new structure for the FAA air taxi program and allow us to actually use air taxis. I think a lot of people are ready to use air taxis. And this is one way that the building itself would be the new dynamic that is the right cost. It would give the backup towers for Newark, LaGuardia, and also the other airports in the area. There's a way that this could then be a structure that is the tower for Newark. If Newark International Airport was to have issues with its main tower or radio communications to aircraft, especially over the city, which is very important, this new FAA structure is the way that people can have that backup tower, and it would be manned and recorded just like every other control tower at an airport. This also comes with the classrooms for air taxi licensing, for pilots licensing in general, and the new medical facility that would be inside of it, because there's a medical portion to getting an aviation license. The building itself, if you could imagine, and I'll show simply with my hands, has a structured shape like this. It comes up to a point and looks like a mountain, and it has a triangular shape that also functions as the triangular shape of a ship's break. So to the south of Midtown Queens Bridge, you would see in the water a triangular portion that comes to a point just like the Midtown Queens Island. And it would also be a new reef area that adds to the FDR reef. So this becomes a structure that benefits nature. There's a small island already there, very small rocky outcropping that's right there that even the New York City ferries are accustomed to. And this building would fulfill that area. And if you could imagine the building in your head, you would see that this whole triangular island comes swooping up towards the Midtown Queens Bridge to the north. And the building comes up on an angle and reaches a pinnacled point, maybe two pinnacled points on top, like a barren concrete mountain, and then drops down on the back. And you could imagine some geometric shapes, some unique large windows, round windows, oval windows, triangular windows, very unique looking building. And this would be the permanent air taxi building that we could use for the next 50 plus years. It's very important to realize that for the next 50 years, this is what we would have as the future of air taxis. It would be the first of its kind building, and it would be beneficial to be in New York City. It would also have the solar panels, like I said, to the east and to the west, where the sun rises basically directly over this building. And it allows from the east side of Manhattan to have a viewing point that catches sunset lighting and can power the building, and from the east side at sunrise. So as the sun crests over and goes over the river, it would provide itself with solar power and ample solar power therein, right there in the city. From the famous Pepsi Cola sign, you'd be able to see the building and also see that there's, traffic going in and out, whether it's a vehicle bridge or people take a small, like NYC Langon ferry, into that island. It's where people would work every day to ensure air traffic safety for air taxis. It's something that I think that would be very beneficial, and I would like to propose, in essence, as a citizen and someone who has been a resident of New York City, to have a competition that has the design where people could try to take what I'm trying to say here and build it into a big building where inside the building has really large open floor plans, a cafeteria downstairs, maybe a Starbucks. There's the permanent medical offices, and then up near the summit of the building is where there is the control towers. One major control tower for air taxis that takes up the entire floor, about 3 floors down from the summit. And then a little bit down is the backup towers for the other airports in the local area. This building, like I said, is built onto a new break in the water to the south of the island, the new island that would be built to the south of the island, that is the Midtown Queens Bridge. And this would be where you could see tankers come up and other barges, and it would be a new building with ample lighting that is a new safety area where there already is one, but that's very hard to see, especially at night. With just a little light pole on it, it's less safe than this new building would be right then and there. And so I'm proposing as another idea that I'm passionate about as I came up with the architecture for the building as I lived in Long Island City. I would stand there by the water and see it in my head. This beautiful mountain-shaped concrete building with hexagonal geometry solar panels all upon it. And the framing is earth tone, similar to what's on my arm, but an earth tone framing, and how this building could function and bring to life even before major cities like Singapore, Shanghai, and other large cities in Asia, where there's a huge tech boom happening and air taxis are this next question for life. Can we have them? We see them as prototypes in somewhere like Grand Central Station, but we don't actually get to fly in them yet. And this new building is sufficient to not only be the air traffic control building, which is to the east side of Manhattan, but could also be air taxi control all the way to Jersey City and also into Long Island City. And so it covers this portion of the land which is ready to have air taxis. And I believe in this idea, and it also adds that there would be new aircraft landing areas for the helicopter ports, which come in very close to city streets. So right near Blade Aviation to the south of Midtown Queensbridge would be this new beautiful FAA building. And I propose it as someone who would like to be remembered as the idea holder. I believe that this is the next step towards air taxis in New York City. And so I officially proposed the idea as a citizen. And even though I'm just using social media, I'm going to keep posting videos based on some of my other ideas. And I hope that you all can see what I'm seeing in my head. A beautiful concrete mountain, geometric, unique windows, and hexagonal solar panels that are earth-toned and matte, that matte earth-tone color. And I truly believe in this idea, and I hope